Welcome to Flex That Worx, a podcast for anyone building, managing, or growing a flexible workspace without making things more complicated than they need to be. If you're running a single co-working space, juggling multiple locations, or overseeing a growing network of spaces across towns or cities, this is your space. It's for the operators, the managers, decision makers, the people doing the work to make these places run. This is Flex That Worx, scaling your workspace made simpler and less stressful. See you in the episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of Flex That Worx. Today we're going to talk about seasonal dips and bookings and footfall, how operators can plan for it, how you can survive it, and how you can maybe even benefit from those times. There's some pains that are kind of common that we see coming up often. The demand fluctuating in your space can lead to really unpredictable revenue. You'll have a desire to maximize your bookings and probably keep your cash flow nice and consistent. And then it's that background noise in your mind that you know you should be developing reliable, repeatable marketing and retention efforts. So I'm going to have a chat with Graham today about what he has seen happening across different spaces, the nature of what drives demand in different spaces, and how operators can navigate it as they go. How are you today, Graham? This is a big topic.
It is, I suppose, in that, seasonality is something that affects a lot of businesses, a lot of business types. And co-working spaces or flex spaces are no different. This is your first year working here in the hub in Skibbereen. You've seen how busy it is July and August, right? So if we're busy here, somewhere someone else is quiet because we've drawn them down here. What were your thoughts on what you saw during the busier periods?
Yeah, I suppose we're still in it to a certain extent, and it's even interesting to see the uptake, say, at the start of the summer versus the end, where we're based. I suppose, like, in why seasonality happens, kind of as a topic, you know, movement of people around weather and time of year is probably one of the biggest ones, right? So us being based here in a coastal place, obviously we have an uptick over the summer. The start of the summer, actually, I noticed that it was people popping in kind of for an hour here and there. They were probably traveling in the area and they were remote working, probably out of the laptop in the car kind of thing. And then when they had a call, they were booking. So when they were coming in, it actually wasn't necessarily for a hot desk. They were coming in for meeting rooms. And actually there was pressure on our meeting rooms where there were hot desks free. Now that we've moved towards the end of the summer, it's more a time when people are coming down with families. They're staying for a couple of weeks. I think August is the time people take off. They're doing fewer like short trips around the place and they're actually basing themselves here. So the hot desks are full now. Naturally, there's pressure on the meeting rooms as well. I think there's always pressure on meeting rooms. There's a little bit more chitter chatter. You're getting to know people a little bit more because they're here for 2 or 3 weeks. They're kind of asking the members what to do in the area, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So we've had an uptick, but the demand on the space has been a bit different. And I've seen our manager, you know, having a chat with people at the end of the day about who's coming in tomorrow. You know, they come up and they say, look, I'll be back in the morning, you know, and she's kind of navigating rates and things like that there and then. And other people have said to her, hey, I just booked online, so I'll see you again in the morning. Yeah. And she's having those conversations about what time to come in and access and what time they need to finish up and all of that. So you can see how the role of the operator shifts as well in the summer. You're having these conversations that you're not typically having all the time during the kind of quieter months where it's just more routine time spent with your members.
As you see, the demand kind of shifts and you can see that the role of the manager becomes more dynamic in hot stepping, that they're dealing with, you know, a more transient client base. And as you touched on the meeting rooms piece, of course, that goes into high demand. So there's another topic there about balancing, you know, bookable resources like a meeting room versus some spaces will have booths like the one I'm in here. You can just pop in and pop out. There's no need to book. It's first come, first serve kind of thing. Just to kind of go off topic slightly with managing meeting rooms and that kind of seasonal demand, it's important to get the mix of what I'm saying correct in that first come, first serve, bookability, fair usage is another one, you know, because I've seen in the past where someone will pay 25 quid for a hot desk and try be in a meeting room for the whole day then, you know, and that's not what they pay for. So you need to be very clear with your offerings there as well. So if you're buying a hot desk, you know, do you have a system or an ability to add on a number of hours to that, you know? So, and again, go on.
How do operators get around that, right? Because if you've got somebody new into your space, you obviously are trying to make sure they have a good brand experience. So you don't want to be up knocking on the door, like trying to boot them out of the room. But at the same time, you've got long-term members,
Yeah.
and you'd want their experience compromised because your space has become busier over the summer months. So, like you becoming, how do you think operators manage it best?
You need to manage expectations. You look at flights. You get on a flight. If you pay for the priority, you expect to get on first. And as you're breezing past the queue because you paid for priority, then it's an expectation. They've paid the premium, they've paid the additional, and they're entitled to that. If I'm genuinely going in to just use a hot desk for a day, why should I expect to get meeting room time on top?
Do we feel like we're special because we're full-time members?
No, it's not necessarily that. I mean, no, look, again, we're full-time members, and we are here 12 months of the year, and there's a danger there that just because it's busy in July and August, that your members feel like second class. All of a sudden, you have to make sure that we love business, right? We love people coming into the space, and there's look, if the place is hopping and it's buzzing, that's great, but you can't afford to let your standards for your regular clients slip. That
I
needs
totally
to be
agree.
maintained. So, and here we are, and this thing is, you touched another point there. Here we are giving advice on things to do locally. So we're actually helping, and this is happening across co-working spaces across the country and up the coast as we speak right now. So, and just sharing that bit of local knowledge, that's adding to the experience. What happens is, if we're all, let's just say, disenchanted by the fact that we can't get a meeting room, you're a bit more huffy and puffy about your day at work, and you're probably not going to throw your shoulder to the wheel and making sure that these new members have the experience that they on the given day they come. So coming back to my point about meeting rooms, I think it's important to have a good look at your meeting room setup. Make sure that if people are buying a hot desk, that they're entitled to, it's clearly and explicitly stated how many hours they have in the meeting room. Okay, that way then they can't abuse the offering in one way, like I said, €25, and then they're in a meeting room all day. If you want a meeting room all day, there's a price for that. So I think it's about being fair to your existing members, but also managing the expectations of the people that come in for a day or two.
Totally. And I mean, I feel for the operators too, because of course, new people coming in the door are new names on your database, right? Potentially often, especially where we are, often people who visit will be back again. So it is really important that they have a good experience. So it's not actually an easy role. You might think that the summer in many industries, as you touched on, like summer equals a bit of a slowdown, but actually for operators, it could be quite the opposite depending on where they're based,
As I said, it's just a movement of people, right? So as I said, if we're busy here, it's quieter somewhere else. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, 100%.
It'll be quiet here in September when all the kids go back to school, and it'll be busier, most likely in the co-working
And we'll have
space
all
or
the
office.
meeting rooms we could ever want.
And we'll have more meeting rooms than we can handle.
Then
So
we know what to do with. Yeah.
this is it. So
And actually on that, right, like this period of time for, say, our clients who are using Baseworks and they're based in city spaces, what's kind of going on in those spaces at the moment?
cities will have a touristy seasonality as well. People are coming down west to us, let's just say, as an example. Then there's space above that can be filled by people that are coming in on planes to visit, the city. I think the key thing is identifying the patterns. Sit down when you have the time, analyze the numbers and see what your revenue streams are looking like, and classify the people that are coming through the door. Are these, one-offs? I'll never see them again. Are these people that could come back to the area next year, and should I stay in touch with them through email marketing and just regular check-ins? And if they come in August and the start of September, you need to be messaging these people in May and say, hey, we have a deal, or will we start booking you in? So be proactive on that kind of sense. So once you identify the patterns, I think you're more informed then to shift your marketing efforts to suit whatever time of the year it is we might think it.
Yeah, because every business has a rhythm, like every business, every industry, and there can be overall generalizations that you can rely on, and then your own space based on, of course, location is a huge bit for a bricks and mortar, which co-working space is essentially. Knowing the rhythm of your own business and then making sure your processes and systems operate around it, because an operator also wears so many hats that if you do get a little bit of a lull, it might be easy to take the foot off the gas, but actually that's probably your planning time. It's probably your time to take a step back and look at, what's going to happen in the next kind of 6 to 12 months and put in place that kind of planning that you're talking about there. We talk a lot about kind of core rules for running a co-working space, and one of them oftentimes you'll hear a lot is fit and like brand, and that it impacts your positioning and your community and all of that, that the right type of people or that your space fits the type of user that's coming in. Does that all that go out the window in the summer because somebody just Googled somewhere to work and they rock in, so you just all goes out the window?
No, all the things you've said there are great and wonderful on a consistent basis. But some of it does go out the window because at the end of the day, there's bills to be paid. There's no benefit to anybody if you turn the business away, because if the business becomes unsustainable, then no members will have the space because it will close down. So you have to find the balance. And again, that comes back to understanding your pattern. And the other thing is, I'm talking to you about patterns in a business I don't run, but I work within, I work under the same roof. So we understand and we have a level of acceptance that July and August is going to be mental. So, and again, we work in a flexible manner. I now know how this place works, in that, like, if the weather is good, it's going to be quiet, I can go in and get a day's work done. Because everyone down here is on the holidays, they'll take advantage of it. Things like in and around the bank holidays and stuff like that, if I'm having lots of calls, I'll just work from home. I'll throw on the slippers and work from home for a given day, and that's okay. It's just, again, it's all moving with the rhythm, and if your members understand the rhythm, and again, it's all about managing expectations. And we, in fairness, they do communicate with us through the WhatsApp groups and stuff like that, saying, look guys, it's small little nudges. Look guys, it's going to be busy this week. Make sure you have your meeting rooms booked in advance.
Yeah, they're totally on it. And I suppose it's funny because you hear just some of these kind of cardinal rules. Community is so important, attracting the right people, brand, blah, blah, blah. But like, you also have the realities of commerce. And if there's demand, you're going to take it in. But there's certain core things that operators might be trying to keep front of mind and stay kind of tight on in some parts of the year, but actually when you're in these dips or these lulls, and actually it could be you're busy, it could be a peak, it could be a very busy time, some of those rules operators just need to release them a little bit, release the grip, you know what I mean, and just roll with it and take the business where it is, Again,
it's about getting your existing members bought into it, and it's their expectations as well, and just make sure that everybody's on board. Like, yeah, this is what we have to do. It's for a short stint, lads. As you mentioned earlier, in September we'll have meeting rooms to beat the band.
Absolutely, and like in a way, there's a lovely benefit to it because the members here know each other pretty well now. We're all kind of staring at each other year in, year out, right? I mean, you've been here longer than I have. Actually, there's something cool about like fresh energy coming in the summer. Could be, I guess if you're in the city, it might be. I'm thinking like midterm breaks coming into Christmas when people are doing like weekend breaks and short-term breaks, and if they're entrepreneurs and they need to run their own calls and people are kind of traveling around that time. So I guess cities might see different peaks, you know what I mean, to when we do. So whenever those peaks are, there is benefit to it as well, right? Like we've said in other episodes, you never know where collaboration is going to come from. There is a lot of benefit to members putting the hand out in front of the coffee machine and having a little chat, and even down to understanding where people have come from or how they found out about the area if they haven't visited before. It's a really interesting place, I find, literally in the canteen down here, understanding because I have a lot of friends who are business owners locally, right? I'm in a position then to tell people, oh, go to the market, you know what I mean, at the weekend, or pop to this business or that business. That whole conversation piece about how co-working spaces drive commerce locally is an interesting one. It's a touch point, isn't it? Like if you go on holidays, how many locals do you actually meet? Whereas if you go and work in a local co-working space, you're meeting people who live in the area, you're getting all the kind of insider tips, you know what I mean? So actually maybe it's a great like travel planning tip that if you're going to go on holiday somewhere, pop into the local co-working space for an hour, you'll get all the insider knowledge.
You've touched on a totally different topic there. I love the human economic side of it, the human behaviour side of it. You're chatting to somebody, as I've mentioned before, traditionally it would have been a one income family, and you would have had, mum would have come down for the summer, dad would have come up down the weekend. Now the whole family goes together because we're two income families. The family dynamic of how we manage holidays and annual leave.
Yeah.
We grew up in an era where you were just thrown out the front door and told go play with the other kids in the housing estate, and now it's like we're all into like play dates and cool camps and all that kind of stuff. So it's a totally different thing, and the co-working space has become that little release valve where you can get them down the country, get them out into the country. You can still do a day's work, tag team with the hot desk, and stay longer in the local economy, which is the point you just touched on there as well. All of this kind of stuff is relatively new to how we kind of shape our lives and our work-life balance now. It's brilliant to be at a coffee machine validating those theories.
Totally. 100%. Locally as well, you'd be hearing whether people feel the area is busy or not busy in the summer. And it's like a little insight into where people are traveling, where they're spending their time when they're here, why they've decided to come here, all that good stuff. For the operators, it's interesting because they can plan around where these people are based. If you really want to get into it, potentially you could be marketing on travel websites. Like you could be marketing alongside your Airbnbs. Could be up on your train and your transport websites if you wanted to be. Coming into summer, you'll always have these kind of like local publications, articles online, 5 best Airbnbs in West Cork. You know what I mean? Potentially that's actually somewhere where you can be partnering with those brands and saying if you're going to go and stay somewhere, especially long stay vacation, all that good stuff. We have a lot of visitors from the US. They would love to know that there's somewhere that they can, take a few hours to take a few calls if they're going to be spending a period of time somewhere. So in terms of a longer term view, right, for an operator who has got a sense of the rhythm of their business and it is a quiet period for them, okay, they're in like a bit of a downtime. How can they best use it? I'm thinking like fixing stuff up around the buildings, planning events, thinking about the community. What would you recommend or what have you seen work well for people in that kind of downtime?
It's all about identifying patterns, and I think the key thing is if you are in a quiet month, holding your head anyway, first of all, is one thing. Don't go tossing the business model out the window because it's quiet in
trust the rhythm.
Trust the rhythm. And if you're quiet, stay busy. As you said, get planning, get reviewing, finding out, when people are back, why people are back, start hammering into your pipeline, your waiting lists. If you have a quieter month in comparison to the previous year, make sure you don't have the same problem next year. Plan accordingly,
I'm thinking as well about different audience members. So if you have a sense of who comes into your space, be it like say corporate workers versus entrepreneur versus maybe freelancer who's contracting or something, do they have different rhythms? Can you dive into a little bit deeper to understand within the pattern who's coming in when? And then if there's a particular audience, like who is coming in when it's quiet, can you get more of them? Because there is always a certain profile who does want to be around, like to your point, the parent who has 3+ kids and they're all spending time in a caravan somewhere. They'd absolutely love to be able to access a hot desk and come in. Can you actually kind of get quite specific about who is using the space during those times maybe and find a way to drive a bit of business or awareness just in that group ahead of time? You could actually be marketing alongside any of those camps that kind of have kids coming in who aren't based in the area.
If you are trying to attract people to an area, it's all about, as you said, finding complementary services, local B&Bs, local hotels. I mean, they all have stands where their tourist attractions are being promoted. Marketed.
Big
so
time.
I think, you can tag along with that. You can keep your marketing efforts hyper local in that base. As I said, you're putting yourself in the way of people. And if you're down in West Cork here and you're down to do, I don't know, like a sailing camp or something like that, and you're staying in a local B&B or something, if there's marketing material there about your co-working space, they may not use it this time, but like, geez, you know what? Next time I'm down home, I'm going to stay a little bit longer. Marketing, I think, and you'll agree with me, is it's consistency. It's making sure, like, what you do today may not pay dividends until, maybe 2 seasons' time. Don't go tossing a business model out. Keep the consistency going. Keep building up that momentum, and it will come back around and pay dividends later on. We just don't know when.
And a big part of marketing, because marketing can be a real catch-all, but like a big part of marketing is you don't need to be everywhere marketing-wise. You just need to be in the right places. If you've been running your space for a while and you have a sense as to the type of person who's coming in the door, it's worth going a layer or two deeper into what the rhythm of their year is, what their pattern is like. You might even decide, to grow the business in 6 months' time, when we're, say, around Easter next year, I actually want to have more dedicated desks or closed door office members in, so that means they're actually locally based. So what's a good time of year to get them in when they've never been in before? It might be the time when the kids are on school holidays and the house is busier than it's ever been, and it's actually a good time to catch locals who've never tried your space. They come in, they try something when their own kind of household is under pressure maybe, and they need a bit of time and space, and they say, when the kids are going back to school now, I wouldn't mind actually getting out of the house for a day or two if they're work from home. So there's opportunities within it as well. Sometimes that mightn't be as obvious on the surface. You might be thinking only about the holiday makers and stuff. But if longer term you want to grow your business with the dedicated desks or the local members more so, then see the opportunity, maybe just explore it a bit deeper to think about their rhythm, their pattern and where they're going to be, and then those can be the places that you market.
I would have said market to them, as kids go back to school, but you're right, you should probably be marketing them when the kids finish school, because
Yeah.
households are under pressure to
Yeah.
have kids cared for now at this stage. And you see people taking extended leave and using all their own annual leave just to mind the kids. So yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, maybe April, start ramping that up and start putting yourself out there as a parachute place to kind of just pull pin
Headspace.
and get out and do that. But then again, I suppose you want to have them kind of thinking about making the change then when the kids go back to school. Do you know what? In September, maybe I'm going to keep this up. And then of course January is always a good time of the year. New year, new me, all that kind of productivity kind of buzz that everybody promises themselves in January and forgets by March.
100%. But if you've decided I'm going to get up and go to the gym every day, well, it makes sense to get up, go to the gym, and then pop into a hot desk for the morning and be nice and productive and then pick up the kids. You know what I mean? There's actually ways to couple your space with a person's habits. Because at the end of the day, as we always touch on, it's humans that are coming in the door. So what do the humans want? And what are the humans doing? And how can we make them come in and experience the space? Because somebody coming in, if they have a good experience, they will come back. If they get some work done and they have the crack with somebody, they will come back. But it's that initial step. How many times have we heard it? Geez, I didn't realise that was there. Now, not too much here because it's a very well-known space, but oftentimes we hear that from other operators where they actually didn't know we were there. Especially you're in some converted building or you're upstairs or something. People don't know it's there.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I was chatting to someone recently and they were like, but Graham, co-working as a concept for a lot of people is still an alien thing. The danger for us, because we're so engrossed in it, I think everybody knows about it. Even the concept, whatever about driving your business, sometimes you have to drive the concept. And as you said, you get that kind of aha moment. I think as a service, as an industry, I think it's still not fully mainstreamed as a concept.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, what we're talking about is behaviour. You want somebody to literally get up in the morning and change where they normally do their day, or at least a few hours of their day. You have to understand their current behaviour a little bit if you're going to be wanting to encourage them to change it, To recap, well, first off, get to know the rhythm, the pattern of the business. In times where there are peaks, just be quite clear on the experience that the different groups are having. So if they're long-term members, that they've got a nice consistent experience and they know they're still valued. If they're new people coming in the door, they understand the boundaries as to what's available with what they've purchased, be it a hot desk, a meeting room, what the case might be. And also that they have a great experience, right? So that they would like to come back and there's positive culture, good community vibe in the place, but they know the running. It's not hard for them to find parking, the bathroom, door access, all that good stuff. They're not wondering where the printer is if that's what they came in for. When you are finding yourself in that bit of a lull, that you're keeping the head, trusting the rhythm of the business because you've made yourself familiar with it, and you're kind of planning, you're taking that time to plan and do the things that you haven't had a window to do while you were in those peak times. Really getting yourself into the shoes of the people who might be potentially using your space. Because this idea as well, even in recession and things like that, there's always a time that benefits every business. So is there something you can do to drive a bit of revenue in your space around that time? What business in your area is doing well during that time? Is the way you can partner with them. Given that they're human-based businesses, pretty much everyone needs the products and services around us. So is there any way you can partner? Maybe you rent your space out to a business that is busy. Maybe there's somebody running training sessions, I don't know, and you can make your space available to them. But potentially there's opportunity there that if we broaden our lens a little bit, could be appealing, and could drive some additional revenue for spaces. And then you never know what that opens up for you going forward. Anything else you'd like to add?
Don't forget about your existing members during the busy periods. Make sure that you do your best to get them bought into the fact that it's going to be a busy time. They're biggest advocates,
Totally, don't take them for granted. We see that done really well here in our space.
The way it's done here, we all feel like we're a part of the team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important because ultimately those people are the lifeblood of your business.
Thanks for tuning in to Flex That Worx. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss our next episode. Connect with us on LinkedIn, watch the full episode on YouTube, and you can explore free tools and resources over at baseworks.co. This is Flex That Worx, powered by Baseworks, here to help you scale your workspace, making it simpler and less stressful.